Hello, so today on the live stream, I'm actually just going to use the Osmo Pocket 3. Let's pop it about there. Even though I've got the other webcam, I thought I'd just use this one today. Because for some reason, again, after, I've paid money for another webcam, this one is now actually working again. Oh, what have I just knocked that's done something on the screen? Is that a TV remote option? Oh, that's gone now, it's right. So yeah, I've got, like I said, this particular camera. Because even though a while ago I bought a more expensive webcam, and I've still obviously got that one, for whatever reason this one's working. So hopefully you can hear me, because I'm not using this with its little plug-in microphone. I'm just doing it with its own inbuilt one, so it shouldn't have any effect doing that with this one, for example. So what I did get is 2 pairs of these, so we can see how good they are. And these aren't the completely high-end chainmail gloves. These are the sort of medium-priced ones. So they're obviously not going to be as strong, but I still didn't know if they'd actually be good enough. So hopefully it's in my size, because normally with gloves, I'm in size like large or extra large. But when I looked at the dimensions for these, the medium size actually seemed pretty big. So that's not an awful fit, that glove there. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. So they give you that sort of inner glove for each of them. And then you can obviously wear these on either hand, depending on how you do up the thing there. So you want to wear them. So that's going to be the thumb, that side, isn't it? Like that. There you go. And then once you've got it on, you just tighten the cord back up. So that's that there, like that. Then you'd yeah, I guess just pop that around there. It's a bit tight. I think that's adjustable, but or do you, I suppose you can move it to that one as well if you wanted to. Although it doesn't really make much difference. Yeah, I'd probably have to fully loosen this before I'd be able to tighten this up, because although seems that the glove itself fits me all right, it seems like this particular bit is like little fastening buckle I want on the like sort of, at least my right hand, to the sort of loosest possible setting for it. So I have to thread that back through there. But anyway, if some people come on, say hello. Again, this would be easier to thread through if I took the glove off, but then I have to do all the procedure again from the beginning. Yeah, so just trying to get that round there. Bit of an interesting smell. So yeah, you can see, because these are the lower end sort of resistant ones, they're like smaller chainmail, but obviously like less strong, I'd guess, for all the little segments. So that, I guess, will be the main difference between this price ones and the higher priced ones, is the higher priced ones are sort of thicker metal link, so stronger. The FM12 is certainly better than the CM7M. Grey man, if that's a Myra mask, or like one of the Czech masks Myra sell, they're not that good. So yeah, it would be better. So let me see if I can get that back as it was. Right, and then I want to get this as close to the edge of this without actually pulling it off. Yeah, that's going to be pretty difficult with this one. Again, that is going to be a good enough fit even without that little securing band on, because like I said, the securing band, these are a tight enough fit on my hand. I don't really need that, but I can actually get that back on again now. All right, that's a different type of thing around there. Yeah, and that's for that one there, but yeah, I'm gonna have to see, like, for me for there, it's called yeah, Yeah, it's going to be a bit too tight. For my left hand, I might need that. But yeah, for this hand, I probably won't bother with that thing. But yeah, so how big are the little holes on this? So a spike like that would go through. What about an FS size knife? Don't know if I've watched them before or not, Grey Man, in all honesty, don't know. FS would go through but wouldn't go very far. So yeah, you'd get a flesh wound from something like this. Because like I said, it's going to go through, but it looks like it isn't really going to damage the metal unless it's a really kind of hard thrust. Yeah, because like see like that, I don't know if that's visible. Yeah, so but again, these would definitely stop you being slashed. All right, Rajiv. So yeah, these remind me a bit more, although they are like a chainmail material. These actually remind me kind of like of a scouring cloth, this material. So yeah, I guess the more expensive ones are like more like classic chainmail. Like with this, yeah, you could definitely have a blade, I think, of this size go through at least and cause a flesh wound, but it would definitely do a lot less damage than, you know, if you had none of these gloves on whatsoever. Again, like we were saying, slash resistance on them seems pretty good. But yeah, let's try a bigger knife, because again, what I'd hope though, even with these, is that a kitchen knife size blade, that would be what it would actually stop. Because like I said, obviously kitchen, so I know this isn't a kitchen knife, but it will do the job. I thought it was Chamon, but yeah. Oh shit, I don't want to leave the page. Again, it's hard to click on stuff with these gloves. Right, there we go. Yeah, hopefully you can hear me all right, because like I said, I'm doing the thing with the audio a bit different on this one. Yeah, that is definitely better. With these kind of bigger knife blades, they definitely work better, these links. Because yeah, obviously with one like this, I don't know how easy it is to show on here. The that isn't going to go as far through with that sort of link. Ask the question, don't say quick question, just ask the question. That's weird, because like I said, me doing different webcams shouldn't affect it at your end. Depends what sort of apocalypse it is. I think with zombies, they wouldn't be able to bite you through this. I'm not going to try biting down on bits of metal like this. But yeah, so a glove like this would definitely protect you from bigger blades, I think, to some degree. Again, I have to do a proper stab test on these, but not with my hand in it, obviously. But like this, like I said, I think if somebody stabbed your hand, it would stop most size blades from, you know, getting anywhere near as deep as it would have done otherwise. It depends on what you're using your gas mask for. For a military type, but again, what they are good for, because obviously gripping a blade like that. So yeah, they're definitely good against chopping. What's an end of the world 2012? If the world just disappears, Grey Man, then no, I wouldn't be prepared for that. But yeah, I imagine with this, it's going to be that kind of thing where the sort of metal frays a bit as it gets cut up before sort of breaking, if that makes sense. Like I said there, you might be able to see where I've been stabbing it. I think these sort of gloves would give in eventually, you know, in repeated damage to one particular area of the glove, if that makes sense. So the bulkier chainmail ones are probably better. All right, Visa, yeah. So yeah, like I said, you could definitely grab a knife like this, no problem with these. That would work absolutely fine. They definitely protect you from slashes. Like I said, it depends, I think, how thick the blade's tip is, because a smaller tip would go through that. But again, it wouldn't go as far through, you know, because like I said, you'd have the blade, unless it breaks the chainmail as it goes in, the blade's going to be, let's take this off a minute. It's a reproduction. It doesn't matter if I do. See, obviously they gave you these like comfortable to wear inner gloves, but anyway, let's have a look with the glove off. So yeah, you can see like it would fully, I don't know how visible that's going to be, but it would fully kind of go through with the smaller bit of the blade. But yeah, I think and I think the wrist bit is slightly different on these. I don't think the wrist bit's as strong as the rest of the thing, but I think the actual like main bit of it would, yeah, stop a blade a bit more, as in I've literally done videos on it, Greyman, so watch them. I don't have any hypodermics to test, Saint, and I'd be worried about stopping them. But if you saw today's video, I tested a spike. I already have a Crusader helmet somewhere. There's one. But yeah, probably eye things in one of these helmets. Somebody can just do that to you. Definitely, as cool as these helmets are, great helms definitely aren't my favorite type of medieval helmet. So yeah, because like I said, cool helmets. My mate bought me this one as a birthday gift or a Christmas gift one year. And yeah, as cool as that is, I definitely prefer Saleh helmets or some of the other ones. Because of the fact that, yeah, like Crusader helmets, the main thing is just a flesh wound. Yeah, the main problem with like a great helm like that is it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just when you wear them, they're not that great. But yeah, like I said, there's a load of different medieval helmets, but I think Saleh helmets or Salet helmets, however they're pronounced, are my favorite ones, because you can have the big throat guard with them, and then you can obviously have the flip up and flip down sort of visor, so they're more like a modern riot helmet. Where you know, with a Crusader helmet, you're permanently kind of trapped in you know, with your just a little tiny eye slits, but they're still big enough that somebody can shove a blade through them. So you've kind of got the sort of problem of both ends, that, you know, they're very good at probably protecting your head from getting bashed in and slashed. The knights that say nay as well. No, I don't think I have yet, Visa. No. I was just wondering if I could catch that like that, but like I said, yeah, it doesn't penetrate through doing that. So yeah, there is at least, like I said, this is good enough that like I said, yeah, that's going to be the main difference, I think, between this and the more expensive chainmail type ones, is that the more expensive chainmail style ones are there's less links and they're bigger, so in theory a blade would go for a bit further, but each link is going to be way stronger. Oh, my light just went off there. That's weird. Is that because the cable's come loose, or is it died? I think the cable came loose because it's getting a bit old and crap now, that light. But yeah, so seems all right, those gloves. Favorite World War One helmet. I suppose the Swiss M18 is technically a bit after World War One. Again, Stahlhelms look the coolest, but again, I like Brody helmets. But yeah, like an FS style blade would definitely go through this more of a degree. Like, as you can see there, look. Yeah, so with this, I reckon enough pressure, it will force the links open on these. Yeah, so the mail on this type, again, I don't know how you're going to be able to see that, where I've just tested that there. What will happen with these is that although a knife won't easily go through, this is the kind of material where, yeah, you can see there. Again, I don't know what, just where my finger is, where You can see where one of the links is kind of pushed apart. I think the more expensive ones wouldn't do that. I think they're more like, yeah, I know Fred's. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the more expensive type now that I've played about with these, that'll be the main difference, is the more expensive type are going to be much thicker steel rings. So again, against slashing, there's not really much of a difference. But I imagine against something that might potentially puncture the glove, the ones on the more expensive type ones, because it's thicker steel. Cynthia says, can you help me find this particular gas mask? You have to mention what the game is or whatever else, or the film you're on about. But I don't know at the moment because you've just said the specific gas masks. You haven't mentioned which one it is. No armor on right now. I'm just at home. I've got my Spacer's Choice t-shirt on. So, yeah, like I said, the thing I was interested in today that came obviously was these gloves because yeah, they don't seem bad. Like I said, you will get the blades, thin blades will go through these like that, but I don't think, you know, compared to how much damage it would do if you didn't have them on. Yeah, but like I said, the main thing is, I was wondering if the weight of the glove would drive it down the blade there. But you can see kind of what these links will do if, you know, a blade does penetrate them a bit. Well, like I said, compared to the more expensive ones, these are going to be the issues with these. That yeah, you're going to have a thin blade will get in, and then it will start pushing apart the links. Yeah, getting killed by a traffic warden. Sadly, I have not seen them, Saint. I've seen the really big butcher's chainmail ones that go down like that length of your arm. I'll see if I can find you a picture of what I mean, but I haven't actually seen them just as sleeves, if that makes sense. Right, let me just find where I put the bloody scabbard for my FS. There it is. But yeah, against slashing protection, they'd be really good, those gloves, because like I said, they weren't advertised as stab proof. They were advertised, you know, as like slash protective. I just thought they looked a hell of a lot better than the ones that look like this kind of material for slash protection. Because again, with those, I know they can be penetrated really easily, even by like, you know, if a shard or something just pushes rather than goes that way across it. Ratcatcher from the Batman comics. I'll have to look at what he looks like. Ratcatcher Batman comics. So I get the right depiction of him. That picture's too small res for me to see. See if I can find a bigger one, and then I'll have a look for those chainmail sleeves. Kind of just looks a bit like the US World War II masks, well, some of them, because it looks just basically like one of those masks that's sort of the leathery type materials with a hose on it. I don't think it's a specific mask, but again, there's different variations that are coming up, but most of the ones that are coming up look just like kind of if you had a brown rubber or leathery kind of mask. So yeah, they kind of look like separate goggles as well. Like they're not a specific thing, but yeah, they just kind of look like a generic World War I, World War II style mask. All right, let's have a look, Visa. But yeah, that's like I said, that's the problem, is the slash proof gloves made out of that kind of material, like I said, are the ones that are a bit slash resistant that do nothing against the thrust. That's the problem with that kind of material. Like I said, that's why I wanted to look at these chainmail gloves, because like I said, for that price as well, you could get an actual second-hand bit of body armor. But yeah, so I was going to look. Let me see if I can butcher's chainmail gloves and see if I can get one up that's like the arm length one. Yeah, so this is the kind of thing I was on about for was it Saint asking about it? Yeah. Yeah, because if you're putting your hand up to block, like I said, all of them will do slash protection to a degree, but it's, and again, with those chainmail ones, you're still going to have the same problem as the type I've got here, that, you know, a very thin kind of needle point is going to go through it. But again, the higher end ones are definitely like more like proper chainmail, I'd say, looking at them. Because again, this is chainmail, it's just like very kind of thin, wiry chainmail, if that makes sense, rather than like thicker links. Whereas, yeah, looking at some of the ones, like say if I get one up like this, you can see with this particular one, for example, that is kind of like you can see, you know, like the pixel with the pixels, you can see how so that I'd say is closer to real chainmail. So that one I'd have more confidence in. But like I said, the ones I've got here do seem all right against slashing. But like I said, the problem is that I think enough force with a small enough point would force through and break all the links. Yeah, that's probably quite similar to my police riot gloves, because they're like fire resistant, chemical resistant kind of things. If you put a hose on the CM4, maybe. But yeah, it's just you'd probably want to just attach a hose to whatever it is to look like the ones in the pictures that I had coming up. How comfortable or uncomfortable are these without the inner gloves in? These aren't stupidly uncomfortable, actually, without the inner glove in. But yeah, just to so yeah, like I said, that a point like that will force its way through with enough weight in that behind it. But in terms of wanking off a knife, you'd actually be all right. Like I said, you're actually going to take more damage from maybe your fingers being broken by an impact there. But yeah, this would definitely give you quite good protection against somebody slashing at your hand or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, probably same. Yeah, exactly, Visa. It's the same thing that why when you test the like body armor materials, you're meant to test them against like a bin bag filled with clothes or like sort of some sort of like Play-Doh-y kind of material under it, like clay. Because obviously, if you just do it against a chopping board like I did today, it will penetrate more than it would otherwise. Yeah, I like the Polish MP5. I don't like the French ARFA it's based off of, though. But yeah, so these do seem pretty good. That's the Lee Enfield 1907 bayonet. And this does actually have an edge to it. It's not a blunt one. But yeah, that definitely would work to protect you from a slash. But yeah, like I said, it's these better than the other gloves for stab protection. But like I said, I think enough force and that would push its way through. But you'd at least, like Visa was saying, if it's your hand, it would probably push your hand back as it goes in rather than, you know, being all the weight applied to breaking the chain links. But you probably, if you were going to buy these, I'd say maybe go for the £50 ones. This is a pre-World War I bayonet. It's a 1907 pattern. If you mean like this, like because most pre-World War I bayonets were bloody long like this. But yeah, so yeah, with this, yeah, it definitely would, these gloves, protect your hand from something cutting into you with a blade. Let me just try with a conventional, like, you know, normal knife, if you like. So 1 second. So yeah, here we go. Here's a like lock knife. Oh, did I feel a little cut then? or is that just the friction of it heating up the but against that bit of my palm, absolutely nothing. And it's not doing much to the materials either of the glove. No, there's no little cut on there. That must have just been the metal heating up as I like I said, I think with these though, you will have the problem of like I said, if there was enough force applied, you would get a puncture through. But like I said, against kitchen style knives and like utility knives that you're more likely to have somebody pull on you, I think you'd actually do all right with one of these. Because like I said, but I'd still, if I had the choice, I'd probably get the more expensive type. But like I said, I got these to do videos on because I had no idea what they'd actually be like. But yeah, if you do that, isn't doing anything. And just to prove this is an actual blade on this, so that's a little tiny bit of paper, so it's not going to be. But yeah, you can see that actually does cut, but it's probably actually going to do more damage to the knife than the glove. Because yeah, if I draw that across like that, can't really even see any marks on it at all from where it's done that. Yeah, exactly. Saying it's a case that yeah, you're probably gonna. Again, it's like we said with the armor. There still might be hits that damage your ribs or like hit you where you're not armored. But if you're fighting back or fighting for your life, you're at least going to be in a position, like you're saying, yeah, where you're a lot better off than if you had nothing protecting you. I have to remember that after the stream, Rajiv, because I can't do it on the stream. But yeah, so I definitely think these sort of gloves would, like I said, they're definitely better than nothing, and they're definitely better than those sort of cheaper slash-resistant gloves. But I'd say if somebody was thinking about getting it, maybe just get one of like the £50 type ones, rather than like two of these £15 type ones. Because again, when I went into buying them, I knew that these probably weren't going to be as good as the expensive ones. But I was kind of curious what these would be like, because from the pictures you can't really tell. What do you mean, like one on top of the other? Let's see if it. I don't. You'd have to. You might have to buy one medium, one large, or whatever to do that. But let's have a go. See if it works. I'll do it on my left hand because my left hand's a bit smaller, so there's more of a chance that I'll actually be able to do that. So we'll keep this one as the outer one. We'll have this one as the inner one. I'll just undo the thing again. So one. Are these the ones you have to turn inside out, I think, to make them for the other hand? Well, like I said, these feel perfectly comfortable with the ones they provided, which are basically the same thing. Or is it just a case of me doing it the wrong way around? Hang on. Yeah, I think it will go to shape, won't it, as I just do that. So we'll find out for Rajiv what two of these gloves are like. So yeah, you could, in theory, if you bought the sizes where you'd have enough room, have one on top of the other. Look, that's two together. And that's, again, it's better, but you're still going to get a blade with a point push through. But again, against slashing, it would be even better, but steel, Chris. So it's like chainmail, but not as good as proper chainmail, these type, unless you spend more money. So you can probably see they're kind of like a woven steel kind of mesh, but they're not the proper chainmail links like the more expensive ones have. Yeah, they will wear down, Rajiv, because like I was saying, they've you can see where I was doing some puncture tests to begin with, that the actual like links in these sort of push apart from each other. So what will happen is obviously the blade forces its way in and then it prizes the metal apart. Yeah, just get what you can get, Cynthia. Because like I said, the problem is because it's not a real mask, And the closest things to it are probably like the World War II, style US masks. Really, Retrowave? What, like it applying static electricity to your hand or what? Because again, I doubt I'd be too much worried about static electricity in the grand scheme of things if somebody was trying to knife me. If you're on about me, Rajiv, yes, I do. I've been doing videos on that regularly. Hooked Quillian. I don't know. I'd have to look up what the hooked Quillian is on it. And again, I can't type with my left hand. So let's take these off again a minute. 1907 bayonet, hooked Quillian. Curved hook before the blade's crossguard. I'm just trying to find an image showing what that looks like. Because again, most of the ones coming up typically aren't the hooked Quillian ones. Even though that's what I'm looking for. Oh, yeah, so no, mine doesn't have that if you mean like the sword catcher on it. Yeah, I'd normally call that a sword catcher. So you mean there, don't you? Where you've got like a little bit like that. Yeah, that's a sword. That's what's called a sword catcher on old-fashioned swords. So no, mine doesn't have that. Mine's the standard, like one that's probably like, I think mine, as I've said before, is actually dated from between the wars. So it's not one of the 1907 to 1913, 1914 made ones. It's this one I think is like a very early World War II or interwar one. If I can find a date stamp on it again. Yeah, 1942. So yeah, it's just when they were still making these during the war. So yeah, World War II era one. Same old design as the old ones, just World War II. GP5, because of the fact that it actually kind of works. With the GP4, the Polish version of the GP4 is better. I can't remember its name off the top of my head. Yeah, he called it a knife. This is a knife. But yeah. So yeah, those gloves do seem quite good. Like I said, I will end up doing a proper video on them probably tomorrow. I've got my flu jab and everything tomorrow. And I don't know if anyone else is like me in the UK, but because I'm immunocompromised and everything, I keep getting messages from the NHS telling me to book a COVID jab. But even if I actually try and now get a COVID jab, they won't give me one because I'm not over 75 and don't work for the NHS. That's pretty cool, Kevin. Stalker wasn't watching live, right? But yeah. So regarding these, even I know I've waffled on about these quite a lot. If I had the option of getting another one, spending £50 and getting the really good chainmail ones or getting these, I go for the single chainmail glove. That's more money. However, like I said, these are certainly not bad. They definitely reduce the damage a knife blade would do going into your hand because it would slow it down and probably catch it. And if it was slashed at, like I said, these seem like they'd be really good for slash protection. Yeah, Rajiv, I find it amazing they keep wasting my time sending me text telling me I'm eligible for a COVID jab, but then if I actually inquire about the jab, I'm not. And they've been doing that to loads of other people. That like where a couple of years ago I could have got the jab if I wanted it. But now they're doing the thing of constantly kind of telling me I'm eligible for the jab, but then you can't actually book to have it anywhere unless you want to pay money. Yeah. Like I said, tomorrow is just an asthma nurse appointment. She's sorting my flu jab out at the same time. Yeah, that could also work, Chris. Like I said, there'd be different ways you could do these things. But like I said, these do seem quite good. So like I said, I've got both of them there together. But yeah, like I said, they're definitely, like I was saying, quite good at being slash resistant. And again, how this is kind of chainmaily, doesn't seem to matter which way against the grain you're going with the blade. They still seem to work fine. I'm trying to work out if it, yeah, it is that same material there. It just looks different because of the black armband under it. But yeah. So yeah, these seem pretty actually damn good for Kevin. Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, so like I said, this you'd definitely be vulnerable for somebody stabbing at you, but less than if you had no gloves whatsoever. And these would definitely give you pretty good protection from a slash. Because like I said, when I had my hand in it, even that was still yeah, just so it's stretched tight so you can see. You actually feel the friction coming up more than anything else doing that. But yeah, not really doing anything to the chainmail-y stuff at all, that slashing like that. And like I said, if a blade catches it like that, it won't penetrate. But obviously if it hits it straight and a pressure's applied like that, it will go through. Leather boot care. I don't really know because I don't have that many old leather boots. But you can normally from shoe shops buy like leather boot, you know, kind of like waxing stuff and whatever. So I just go for proper modern shoe ones that are just in the right color for your boot. You know, the stuff that's both kind of a preservative wax and stuff like that. Yeah, 'tis but a scratch. And yeah, even if it goes down on it like that, it doesn't do much. So yeah, these would definitely, I think, protect pretty damn well against something slashing at them. But like I said, I'll have to do a proper video on them tomorrow, testing them with a few things. But like I said, I imagine these, if somebody stabbed you, it's not going to stop the blade, but it's probably going to slow it down and mean it doesn't go as deep into you. But again, if somebody's just slashing at you with a knife or whatever, you could probably actually grab the blade. Yeah, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. But yeah, I imagine the main thing with these, like we're saying, is you could actually grab onto a blade. So yeah, and again, like I said, I know. So yeah, so saying, so you could do that and just grab a blade. Again, like I said, if it's going that way, it's not going to work. But if you grabbed it like that as it slashes towards you, you know, it could go into that. You could grab it in your hand, and you've at least then got control of the blade there, and it's not going to cut through, even holding it quite tight, the blade end. So yeah, these would actually be good. Again, I wouldn't want to wear these all the time, but because these aren't stupidly big, I imagine you could just put them in a coat pocket. Because yeah, you could obviously fold them down to like that. You don't even really need the one for your right hand or your left hand if you're left-handed. You wouldn't need both. And then yeah, pop them in a zip-up pocket, like little coat pocket. And then yeah, well, it sounds like he was a really good bloke for doing that, Rajiv. But yeah, like I said, if he was trying to like block a blade coming in, I imagine you would get slashed up a lot. But yeah, so yeah, something like this. Like I said, if you had this on in your pocket, maybe, and then you were on a bus and a train, and you knew there was a commotion going on that was coming your way, you could at least, I think, slip this on pretty quickly and have it ready to like block something coming at your face or whatever. Yeah, I don't know how well a dog would be able to bite through this, Kevin. That's a good point. Because again, dogs' teeth are pretty big. And with a dog, I don't know if it hurts its teeth biting into something like this, if that would then stop it biting as much. Yeah, like I said, after payday, John, because again, I've spent too much money this month. I'll see if I can get some of the butcher, like the higher quality butcher's ones that go up your arm to about there, the ones that are more like medieval gauntlets, because I think they might actually be really damn good. Yeah, they still could break bones, I suppose, potentially, because it's like alligators have absolutely huge bite pressure and crocodiles. Yeah, Retro, I'm not on about wearing it all the time. It's sort of the thing where it's on about where, like, you might wear the body armor under a jumper or a jacket all the time on public transport. But something like this, I was thinking more just having it in a zip up or like button up pocket. So if some shit went down, you could get it on one of your hands. So if you're blocking with your hand, you've got something. But it's also, like I was saying, you could get a messenger bag and put, you know, a stab-proof panel in there, a chopping board panel, a load of magazines taped together, that kind of thing in a bag, and then hold a messenger bag out in front of you, also like a bit of armor. But yeah, like I said, I'll get a video done on them tomorrow because, like I said, these just obviously arrived a bit before I started streaming. So I'm kind of interested in looking into them a bit more. But like I said, the problem was when I was getting those is it was really, really hard to tell looking at all the listings and that on Amazon and eBay, how all these, you know, gloves compared to each other. Because all of them, you know, all of them say, you know, like good for the kitchen and all that, but don't. Depends how thick they are on that, John. Because I've got the British riot police gloves, which are like motorbike gloves, and those are definitely cut resistant, you know, like burning petrol resistant, stuff like that. So they definitely give you better protection than a hell of a lot of other gloves. They'd definitely be better than these gloves if something like acidic or whatever was thrown at your hands, because they're actually, you know, like a thick, like coated leather material. But yeah, like I said, I know, like Retro saying, they're more for abrasion, but again, it's better than nothing. Like with a lot of these armors, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, if you had one thing that gives you some degree of protection, it will probably give you a hell of a lot of a better chance than if you had nothing that gave you no protection. Because again, with some of these things, they might not fully stop an injury, but they're going to reduce how far a blade can penetrate you, or like, you know, how deep a slash wound would go, or anything like that. And again, if you could grab a blade using something like this and, you know, try and then wrestle it from the person that's trying to stab people, that's going to give you a hell of a lot of a better advantage than trying to grab a sharp blade with your bare hand and slicing your hands open. Yeah, but like I've said before with my riot police gloves, they're, unless it's really cold winter, you wouldn't ever wear them because they're too chunky. They're not like, you know, conventional little gloves, these sort of gloves. They just look too bulky and chunky, so they do kind of look a bit, you know, if that makes sense. It's one of those gloves that you'd raise an eyebrow if you saw somebody wearing them and it wasn't a really cold winter day. And that's like I say, and that's why with these I was thinking about more just having them in a pocket, you know, and then if shit goes down you could put them on, but otherwise they're just staying in a pocket. But yeah, so like I said, I'll do videos on them tomorrow. Yeah, I won't stream too much longer now. But yeah, so like I said, I think they're a good option. Like I said, I've also got some neck armor coming. All right, Mike, I'll stay on a little bit longer if you're coming on. But yeah, like I said, the neck armor when it comes will be interesting. But so yeah, these are very lightweight, Mike, because these are like the lower quality chainmail ones. So they did give you an inner glove as well, but these aren't too uncomfortable without it. So what I was just showing people, yeah, I don't think, yeah, you could challenge somebody to a duel with these, but like I was saying, that with these, they wouldn't stop a blade properly, as in what will happen with these is the tip of the blade will go through a hole in the mail, and then the blade will push it apart, but it would slow the speed, you know, down. So if somebody did stab you with one and you had these on, it would definitely do a lot less damage than if you weren't wearing them. But the main thing with these is you can just grip a knife like that, and it's going to do nothing to the glove. So at least with these, you know, you could grip a knife and do that, no damage to the glove on my hand whatsoever. So yeah, it wouldn't stop a knife if somebody had like a spiky point thing, especially not a spike. But yeah, it would certainly help. I'd say if somebody was just with a kitchen knife or whatever, if they were slashing it around, you would probably be able to grab it, and it would, like, you know, at least stop them doing a bit like people do by wrapping a towel around their hands or whatever. But you still have pretty good grip control with these. But because there was some others, Mike, I was saying about where there are some like 50 quid ones you can get on Amazon, or you know, similar prices on other website that tend to be red rather than blue around like that bit, and these had like a little blue securing strap, where the more expensive ones like the same but red, and I think that's how they differentiate the levels of protection. Those ones have much thicker looking chainmail. I didn't buy any of those because I didn't have the money to do it at the moment. But with those, I reckon they'd be much, much stronger links and harder to break, but the links are also bigger. So a knife, I reckon if somebody stabbed you with a knife with quite a wide tip on it wouldn't go very far into your skin, and you'd get like a little flesh wound and it would completely stop it. If somebody had an FS type knife or a spike, I reckon they could get that pretty far into those. But at the same time, I don't think it would damage the gloves very much. And I imagine they're just as good, if not better, for grabbing hold of a blade and stopping it. So those are the ones I think that are more for like the non-stop meat packer type people, which sounds like a euphemism, but you know, like the people who work in a place butcher cutting all day. I think they have the red grade ones because they're, you know, designed that if you swung a cleaver down really hard, they give you more protection. And I also think those gloves are designed to last longer as well. Like with these, that after a load of slashing them about, some of these links are going to start breaking because they're quite thin. You can see at the end of the fingers as well, it's doing that. These kind of remind me of, you know, the metal scourers for like washing up. These kind of feel a bit like that. Like they are actually a chainmail material, because if I hold it close enough to the camera and it focuses, you'll probably see it is actually like chainmail, but it's nowhere near like the proper strong links you get on like the medieval style chainmail. Again, don't know how well that shows up on there, but so it is actually metal, because like I said, when I was looking at these, I was trying to confirm that they were actually metal and not, you know, again, some kind of woven fabric. Yeah, but that sounds interesting, Mike. So yeah, stuff for like dog bites and slashes, because we were on about that. Dogs, because where somebody was saying earlier in the chat, dogs have really strong bite grip strength, you know, jaw strength, bite strength. If it can stop a dog puncturing you, that would probably be quite good. Yeah, you could. Like I was saying, I could fit two of these gloves on the same hand, at least on my left hand, because my right hand's bigger than my left hand. But yeah, you could wear them in conjunction with all right, cheers, Mike. Yeah, and then we can just click it on here because you're a mod, it will let it go through. But yeah, it's you could wear these in tandem, like I was saying, with other gloves. So you could either put these probably inside motorcycle gloves, or you could put, yeah, them inside another type of glove, or wear them on top of a smaller glove. Because like I said, they do provide you these sort of gloves with them. And that's just a comfort thing, like a non-slip kind of cottony sort of glove. Yeah, these are surprisingly actually decent little gloves they provided for free with these. Because when I'm used to getting little gloves that come with things like this, they're always like ones that are going to tear super quickly, but these actually feel all right. Yeah, it's kind of a similar looking material, but made from obviously fabric, not steel. And then yeah, you've got these with the right. I bet I can't click the mouse very well with these on though. You definitely wouldn't be able to do a phone screen with these. Yeah, that it's definitely hard to move this mouse around with these. Yeah, go to site. Yeah, so it definitely says they're puncture resistant, doesn't it? Yeah, Mike, saying that, the neck guard thing I've got coming looks more like that kind of material, where it looks more like an actual collar you do that, you know, then like kind of Velcros up or whatever. All right, see you, John. But yeah. Yeah, good idea, Retrowave. Like I said, there's probably multiple things you could do. But like I said, with these, I wouldn't wear them out and about. But like I said, they'd be the sort of thing that you could easily just put in a zip-up pocket or a button-up pocket. And then if you're on public transport or somewhere and you heard something going down, you could just literally take the glove off and put it on within a few seconds. And then if somebody comes slashing at you with a knife, you can at least hold your hand up or try and grab the blade. Because like I said, these are definitely good at, like I was saying, with a blade like this, you can just literally grip the blade and it's not going to, you know, can just grip something by the blade and it's going to completely not cut through it. So it does seem like these are very good at slash resistance, these. Because where I've seen some of the more fabric ones, when people do tests like that, you get like a lot of fraying. You know, if it doesn't immediately cut through, it's if it hit the same area again, it would go through. Where these, you know, you can kind of saw along, and it's not doing anything. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to strap these down in all honesty, because like I said, these are, I wouldn't want any smaller size than these. So yeah, although these have the little arm straps, I personally wouldn't need them with this size anyway. Some of the butcher's ones as well have a thing where they have the like they have like a rubber outer glove thing. I don't know if you've seen these, where they're kind of like a rubber thing that goes over a couple of your fingers. And I think the point of that is it holds the glove on tight like that from the outside. Which one's the Air Arms 177? Oh, that's not mine. Like I said, I'm borrowing at MB Pluv, as in the owner can't have a gun where they currently live, so they said I could just have them and shoot them when I want to. But that the Air Arms one is the one that just literally stopped working overnight. So yeah, when my friend owned it, he really liked it, but for whatever reason, a part's gone or whatever in it now. Where I think I got a couple of shots out of it that worked fine, and then as soon as I started trying to do a video, it just stopped cocking. Where you know, so they're meant to be quite good air arms, like most people love them. But like I said, my experience with it hasn't been good. But it's not my gun, so I can't have it sent off for repair or do anything with it. I've just been instructed to leave it as it is now. So it's taking up space doing nothing. But like I said, the actual owner of it can't have it where they are because they're just literally in a little flat somewhere. But yeah, as Mike said, I've had problems with some other air guns where I've had air guns that I've really liked, but some pellets they just do not get on with, like certain barrel. I don't know if it's to do with the barrel, like rifling twist rate or whatever. But I've had air guns that I like and pellets that people say are really good pellets, but found out with certain air guns, the pellets just, are never consistent. Whereas, sometimes cheaper pellets work better. So I think there was one of the like Field Diablo type pellets, whatever they were called, that people gave me a load of shit because I said I didn't like them. But that was because out of the air guns I tested them out of, they just did not group well at all. But like I said, I know other people like the Diablos, so I think it's a case of me that whatever the like twist rate was on the barrel or the barrel length of some of the air guns I tried them with, they just didn't stabilize well enough before leaving the barrel. Where sometimes cheaper pellets would work fine. So yeah, personally, I can't really recommend any pellets because it's been so long since I've shot any of the air rifles, and I know now that a lot of brands of pellets have got lower quality than they used to be. In the sense that they used to be pretty damn good, like consistent quality. Some brands of pellets, and now people say that the quality's all over the place, where half the pellets aren't even cast properly with certain brands of pellets now. So I couldn't really tell you. Oh yeah, Mike, I'm gonna have to wait till my next payday to get one of those crossbows because I've already spent too much money doing all the body armor type stuff this month. But I am gonna get one of those crossbows you recommended. But yeah, like I said, it's just been that typical bloody thing this month where I don't think I've spent too much money. But then when I look at my bank statement, I've been going, ooh. I think because it's just been this month, there's been lots of little small payments that have come out that have all added up. Where on some months I can go, all right, I'll buy a DIAC gun or whatever this month. But yeah, this fucking month's been one where I think there's been so many little small payments coming out, they've all added up. But tomorrow I am going to go put a load of money that I've got in cash into the post office anyway to put that back into my bank. Just because I think that was the problem as well, is where other people have been getting me to, put stuff on my card and then giving me the cash. People who don't like using their cards on the internet. I've had loads of money come out that way, and while I've physically got the cash, it's not in my bank balance when it's in the cash. That's good, JJ. But yeah, like one of my mates has got a job again now, which is good because he had a job that he liked to start with, and then apparently the management just went to complete shit in the job he was doing, and then they eventually got rid of him because they didn't want to give anybody redundancy. So they said literally every member of staff was gross misconduct or whatever. But he's got a job now that pays him more for a similar kind of job, so I think he's quite happy now. But yeah, like I said, a lot of people I know at the moment are kind of either between jobs or don't have very good job security. Like with my job at the moment, I don't actually know, how good my job security is, if that makes sense, because it's one of those jobs at the moment where when people quit or are fired or whatever, they normally don't get replaced with a new member of staff. So it does make you think, are they just kind of losing money and slowly like hemorrhaging down the staff till, they can't afford anyone? That sounds good, JJ. But anyway, like I said, I will bayoneting myself. Wouldn't do that without the stab vest on though. And I wouldn't do that with a spike either on that, like where I did the spike test earlier. If you use a spike on one of those things, it could definitely go through. But I know from testing enough of those panels of the various knives that even if you get a really good, like, down, stab like that, it goes a quarter of the way through the vest at best. So, just leaning against a blade with it, putting weight on, like I said, it might go through 1 or 2 layers, it sounded like when I was doing it. Yeah, sounds like those people on social media are probably not telling the truth, are they? But yeah. But again, it's Labour fucking the economy even more, because part of the problem, I think, for a lot of employers now is because the national insurance stuff was put up on staff. That means it costs them more money per staff member. Therefore, they can't hire as many staff or give as many staff as many hours or whatever else. I actually am trying to think if there's anywhere near me where you could drive a forklift. Where I work, they have one forklift driver and that's it. And he obviously won't be out of his job anytime soon. And there's probably other places, where they have forklift things for warehouses. But yeah, although when people say about forklift drivers, I always think about that German like comedy thing of the bloke who kills everybody with his forklift. Is it Klaus, the forklift driver? Hang on before I go off to find this. Forklift driver Klaus, the first day on the job. I'm afraid the quality isn't very good on this upload, but there you go. Forklift driver Klaus. What to do horizontal and vertical at the same time? I've not had anything pop up saying, do I want to do that? As in, I assume you'd have to be doing a horizontal stream and then it says, do you want it also to do a little vertical bit in the middle? I've not seen anything pop up saying I can do it, because again, I got a YouTube email a while ago of all the changes like that they were making, but half the things they've said they're doing, I haven't seen an option to do yet. Yeah, Chris, in a lot of places, people get promoted to be less dangerous, don't they, essentially? Yeah, it sounds good, Mike, but like I said, I've not seen the option yet for it, because otherwise I just do that as standard for all my streams. But yeah, in every job I've worked, I've had the thing, for every good manager, you have about 3 or 4 bad managers filling the roles in with, the typical thing I find from bad management is the people that basically decide that they'll stop a staff member doing whatever job they're trained to do to go do something else because they think something needs doing in another part of the business. And then they'll shuffle another staff member into that other person's job until everybody's played fucking musical chairs. And then, nobody is actually doing a job they're trained to do or know how to do properly because the management shifted everybody around that day. And like I said, I've had that in so many jobs with so many managers where they don't just leave the people that are trained to do a job on that station. They go like, oh, we look a bit short in this area of wherever, so I'm going to call somebody out from one job and put them there. And then when stuff starts going tits up in the other place because they move people around, they don't move the original person back. They grab another random person doing another job, shove them in that place. Then that place is down one staff member. That's my kind of experience with a lot of managers like that. Also the ones that come into a job think they know more than the people that have been there years, decide to change everything about, even when everybody that's worked in whatever place for years says like, this is the most optimized we found we can run this place. They go like, no, 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 I know what I'm doing. And then they absolutely fuck everything up because they decide that, you know, whatever the most efficient method of managing a place was, no, we're not doing that anymore. In my old job, we had a manager that did that, where they decided to spend about 100 to 200 man hours of work. So, you know, like if you had 10 members of staff in, each would have to do 10 hours to get all this stuff moved about from one warehouse area to another. And then everything went to shit because the warehouse was less optimized. So after like worse customer service for about 2 weeks, we had to waste another 100 or so man hours putting everything back as it was, because the manager decided that, you know, oh, you know, even though I've not worked in this store or warehouse before, I know how to optimize it, even though, you know, it had already been optimized slowly over the process of years, with the fastest selling products being put closest to where the customers were, you know, and all that stuff. And also heavy items being put, you know, where the person didn't have to carry them very far. So when flat pack furniture or whatever would come in or leave, they'd always just come in and not have to carry them very far. So if somebody had a bad back or weren't very strong, it wasn't an issue. You know, and then the lightweight items that were sold the least frequently were the furthest ones away. So if you had to walk a furthest distance, it was for something that was not very commonly sold and didn't, you know, didn't weigh much for somebody to carry. But no, they just shuffled all that around to the point everything fucked up. But again, like I said, that's the problem, because with management type things, that's why I wouldn't want a management job, because I don't pretend to know how to do a lot of these things very well. But I wouldn't decide, you know, I have no idea what I'm doing, so therefore let's just fuck about with stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of things where when I watch the Chernobyl series, I look at like people like Dyatlov and I'm like, yeah, that's obviously why they're a chief engineer or a manager kind of person. You didn't see graphite. It's that kind of attitude a lot of them have, of pretend there isn't a problem and it will go away. But yeah, I won't slag off past employers and stuff like that too much, just because of the fact that, you know, I don't want to be seen as somebody if I then are looking for a different job. So it's like, oh, you slag off your employers, I'm not hiring you. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. So yeah, overall, not too bad, these gloves. Like I said, if you're going to get one of these, and I'll mention this in the video tomorrow, probably better paying just over twice the amount and getting the really thick chainmail ones, like these type. But regardless, these ones you could use to grab an incoming knife, something like that. Like I said, they wouldn't do all that much against a stab. They would lower the amount of damage it does to you in terms of, you know, the blade, a bit like when it goes through a stab-proof layer. You know, the energy required to push the bits out of the way means it loses energy going in. But in terms of, yeah, I wouldn't really call these stab-proof. But in terms of slash-proof, they seem pretty good, damn slash-proof gloves. So yeah, anyway, have a good evening, everyone. I'll get a video filmed at some point tomorrow. Probably won't get time to do a stream tomorrow, because I've, like I said, got that flu jab tomorrow and some other bits on. So I'll cram in filming a video. But otherwise, there's quite a few bits I need to do tomorrow afternoon. So I don't want to say I'm going to do a stream and then not get time to do one. Hopefully might be able to do one on Friday, though. So yeah, have a good one, everyone, and I'll see you all with hopefully a regular upload tomorrow.